Divorce lawyers of Reddit. What is the most ridiculous reason your client filed divorce for? I had a client file for divorce because every morning his wife would ask him how he takes his coffee. For 7 years. He didn't help her put up a shower curtain. It may have been a straw that broke the camel's back situation though. Best reason. Cops showed up to tell her that her husband is a violent child sex offender and she's now aiding and abetting BC. Her house is next to a school. My boss just got divorced. His wife was telling people one of her reasons was the amount of toilet paper he used. She was a super coupon clipper thrifty lady and would listen when he went to the bathroom to see if he was using too much TP. Hopefully soon to be former divorce attorney. I've seen tons of crazy reasons for people to get divorced. Some of them stupid, some of them make perfect sense. I had one person get divorced because her husband wouldn't take her out to the movies anymore. I had one client who looked through her husband's phone and found out he was hiring male escorts while he was on business trips. One female client got a divorce because she hated sex with her husband. Her last relationship before she got married was pretty intense, and I guess her husband just didn't match up. I've had a few clients who were teachers get divorced because their spouses found out they were having indecent relationships with students. All of the teachers were female. One divorce involved an elderly couple who had both recently been widowed. They had both been married to their individual spouses for over 40 years. They married each other out of loneliness. About 2 years into the marriage, they realized they made a huge mistake. They couldn't stand each other. It was weird seeing 80-year-olds complaining about the same thing you see kids arguing about. Not a divorce lawyer, but have done marriage therapy. Had a soldier stationed at Guantanamo Bay that met a local. Fell madly in love. They decided to get married so she could come with him back in the States once his tour was done. She was working on American dishes and was making spaghetti. He comes home from work one day and she's making it. She puts the meat in, puts the canned sauce in, and then pulls an unlabeled bag out of the freezer and adds it to the sauce. At this point in the session she's hysterically crying with broken Spanglish. She's trying to explain she didn't know any better. Through the hysteria he informs me her mother and grandmother told her if she wanted to keep her man, she needed to put her menstrual blood in his food. It was so hard to keep my composure. I was trying too hard not to gag. They both described they were madly in love, but he couldn't let it go. They ended up getting a divorce. Having done this for 14 years, I have found it 100% accurate that truth is stranger than fiction. He loved his pinball machine collection more than her. Also it turns out some pinball machines can be worth a sheetload of money. My dad split my mom because she takes too long to tell a story. He was actually having affair $4,795,809,374 and that came out shortly after. But this was one of the main reasons he gave when they did a counseling session together. Divorce lawyer here. One client filed for divorce because he owed his bookie $70,000. He didn't want to leave his wife, but he figured he would get half the house in the divorce, which was worth $700,000, and pay his debts. He had already blew through their life savings gambling. He was the worst guy. My wife divorced me because I had her arrested for domestic assault. Sinchildka, so it was absolutely imperative that she controlled the narrative. Apparently I'm a liar, the cops are liars, the children are liars, the baby gate mashed itself over my back, the video of her doing these things are also lying. So divorced I got for hanging out with all these liars. Easy. She spent $42,000 on psychic hotlines. Notable, she then wouldn't accept any of our offers, and I continuously asked her lawyer to provide counter-offers. Shouldn't a psychic have told her how the case would turn out? Lol. My neighbor filed for divorce because he smacked his lips when he ate and slurped his coffee and soup. She thought if she didn't she would end up in jail for battery. I had two couples come to me. They had been friends for nigh on 15 years. Husband A decided he liked wife B more than wife A. Wife A decided she likes husband B more than husband A. The reverse was also true, and husband B preferred wife A. Wife B preferred husband A. The couples had near identical assets in terms of value. They came to me all together, and I drafted 2 sets of paperwork. 2 default judgment hearings were set on the same day. The judge signed all the papers the same day. A week after that, they all went to a JP and remarried. The husbands swapped houses and they all went about their lives exactly as they had the week before, but each slightly happier. Edit. No, this was not Roblo or a picture in the 1970s. I'm only 34. No, I have never read, seen, or heard of Marmalade Boy before today, but I will look for it to read next weekend. No, I probably don't live or work in your state. Not a divorce lawyer. One couple that I am close to were in the process of filing for divorce. Papers were served, and lawyers were involved. But the husband put down for one of his reasons why things were irreconcilable was because she would cheat in his bathroom. I'm sure not exactly in those words. Happy to say that they worked through that issue and are still together. So husband and I are planning on building a house. We're looking at layouts. His mother pipes up that the plan we want is no good as it only has 1 bathroom and she doesn't want to share when she comes to visit. Serious. She wanted her own bathroom in someone else's house and said it like 3 times. Newsflash. She ain't coming to visit. Not a divorce lawyer, but there's this famous case that all law students know about. The wife asked for annulment of marriage because almost a year into the marriage, they still haven't had sex. The husband has been avoiding it for almost a year, and later on the court found out that he actually only has a 2-inch penis. I'm not a lawyer, but my brother is one who specializes in family law. He once had a case where the client was divorcing his wife because he was having an affair with his wife's mother. Edit. People keep asking me if the wife's name is Stacy. I have no idea. This case happened in the UK a few years ago, I think. Edit to Electric Boogaloo. I'm stupid and don't understand humor. A friend of the family got divorced by her husband because she couldn't outperform him on the golf course. We all think he was cheating and just wanted an excuse, but she did say he would often yell at her in public while golfing and mock her for her attention, to detail whatever the duck that means in golf. He would also force the family to go golfing on most weekends, so it's hard to say if that was the real reason or not. She doesn't even like golf but was, and still is, afraid to tell him that. Not a lawyer, but one of the reasons my mom gave my dad on why they needed a divorce was that he bought expensive shampoo. My mother-in-law divorced my father-in-law so she could have a fresh start with her dream job of teaching blind children to read. Turns out, what she meant by that was destroy my father-in-law's pastor career by telling everyone he was abusive. Got married to the guy she'd secretly been carrying on with. He's a convicted child sex offender. She has grandchildren. She's in a state of complete denial. Not a lawyer, but a friend of mine divorced her husband because his deck was too big. They were dating about 6 months, got a courthouse wedding, and separated about 6 months after. She said it was fun at first, but the sex became too much work. She said it took a lot of preparation. Apparently, as well, he was pushing for some bud stuff. When she first told me offhand, I refused to believe it. She showed me a picture of them dancing at their reception and holy shit was this guy packing heat. Husband and wife were married for 15 years, and husband started being less and less intimate with wife. He cheated on her with another woman, and his rationale was that he didn't know if he was impotent or it was just his wife and wanted to find out. Estate's paralegal here. Saw a divorce where the defendant stopped cooking, and when the petitioner gave the defendant money for food ate his, so was phrased as housekeeping money, the defendant would disappear for 2 weeks and play bingo. The defendant also lost interest in the chilled bingo comment, and stopping cooking comment will forever be ingrained in my head. Edit. Clarify roles of parties. Not a divorce lawyer, but was told of a client that filed for divorce with his wife because she kept eating his food. I believe it. I keep threatening, joking, my husband I'm gonna leave if he doesn't stop eating everything. I'll bring home a dozen cookies for the week and he will demolish eat them all that night instead. I like to savor and eat things over time. He likes to go Cookie Monster on everything and eat it the second he lays eyes on it. It makes for a lot of disappointing pantry discoveries. Eater, I have tried buying 2 of things. They both go fast. I've tried hiding things, and then I'll forget. So that one's really on me. It's one of his few flaws. If it's a flaw really, it's more of a style of eating difference. With all the great things about him, I get to experience on a daily basis, the occasional cookie sadness is worth it. It's funny to see how many other couples have this difference, and how each are working with each other about it. Thanks for the laughs and encouragement and advice. Not an attorney but a paralegal. This isn't why they filed, but the guy didn't think his wife should be able to divorce him because she had Lyme's disease. He thought that having had this impaired her mental facilities, and therefore she was not in her right mind to make this decision. We were just the gal for the kids, so every so often we would get calls from him going on and on about this. For you non-legal workers, GAL is short for guardian ad litem, where you have another attorney represent a party due to some incapability, like being dead without a will in NH, my bread and butter, a minor child, or otherwise. I heard of a woman that had her marriage annulled because the groom insisted to bring his mother on their honeymoon. Then, on the honeymoon the bride discovered the reason he wanted to bring his mother was to breastfeed him. Yes, the groom, a grown man, was still breastfeeding. Not really what you are asking. But, my sister's old friend had a big wedding, and about a month later she accidentally butt dialed her husband while she was out to dinner with the dude she's been sleeping with. Seemed like an act of God. My dad has been married several times, more than 4. His last wife asked him to rub her feet, and he said no. She told him to get the duck out. He was super excited and said okay bye, you will hear from my attorney. Obviously that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Makes me laugh every time someone asks why did they split up. No feet rub for you. My parents. Turns out remarrying each other wasn't such a great idea and they enjoyed their first divorce so much they wanted to do it again. I guess I'm late to this one. It was my associate's case, but he had a couple in his office arguing about all the things they disliked about each other. All of a sudden the husband started screaming at the wife about leaving sheet stains in the toilet. It was the reason, but it was hilarious. Wife was having an affair and husband killed the boyfriend. Life in prison for premeditated murder. Then they got divorced. My friend told me about a situation where the wife was fed up with the husband spending too much time with his dog. Not a lawyer. In my 20s, back in the 80s, I met a friend's friend who married and ended those marriages. Not sure how, divorce or annulment, for fancy parties, wedding receptions, money gifts, wedding gifts, and vacations, honeymoons. She would get married, and immediately upon return from the honeymoon, end the marriage and off to find the next guy. In the 7 years or so that I knew of her, she'd been married 4 times. One of the 2 had a problem with the eyes. Divorcing would shield some assets, as long as they were awarded to the other party in the divorce. I don't know how it was supposed to shield assets, and client said they lived apart a lot. I didn't want to look into it too deep, in case I ended up in some sort of fraud. I made client give me enough info that it was plausible they could divorce. Also there were the airline pilots in the news a while back that we are about to lose some of their pension, but if they got divorced their ex wouldn't lose the benefits. Turns out that marriage fraud is a thing, but divorce fraud isn't. They gave their spouse the retirement, but stayed together, like they were still married. Brilliant.